Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Brandon.
I'm Gwen.
And welcome to Broken Hearted Cast, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything in between. This week, we're actually going to talk about podcasts. What? Just like on your shirt. And just like on my shirt.
You don't say.
Yeah, and you don't. We're actually going to talk about why are they important and why people are... I have theories about why people are doing it more, basically. So, for starting off, what podcasts have you listened to? Besides this one.
I have listened to... Well, the first podcast that I got started out on was Welcome to Night Vale, and I haven't listened to it in about a year. I need to get caught up again, but
What is that?
It is a podcast from the perspective, as if you're listening to local radio.
Yeah.
But it's in this town where all these very unnormal things are happening. But they're acting like it's normal. This is how everybody lives. This is just normal for us. And it's kind of that's not normal.
Yeah.
But, it's really interesting because, it's very, submersive. Because it's also kind of from the perspective of, say, something's going down in the town. Well, yeah, people would be listening to radio, so you can it makes you feel like you're part of, the story that's being told.
Especially if you're out driving around and being, can you listen to it?
Yeah. Yeah, but that was my first one, and... Oh, gosh, what was my second one?
Well, which ones do you listen to right now?
Right now, I listen to mostly The Adventure Zone and My Brother, and Me.
Which are? Doing a show.
My Brother, and Me is just three brothers who just sit down and they just give advice. Very bad advice.
Sometimes it's really good advice.
Sometimes it's actually, I've taken a lot of their advice. It's actually really good. But it's mainly just jokingly,
That's where our shit's come from.
Yeah.
Well, mine's from the other podcast that they do.
Yeah.
So.
And your shirt's from the Adventure Zone, which is their D&D podcast, and we've talked about it before on the channel.
Yeah. Which, if you want to actually hear us talk more about the Adventure Zone, you can tune in to Resident Evil Episode 9. Resident Evil 2 Episode 9.
It's either 8 or 9.
Yeah, where we talk about how I binge listened to the whole thing.
Yep. In between episodes, in a month, you listen to all of it, and I'm kind of
all 69 episodes.
It's been 2 years, and I'm not even through the first part, the first storyline they go through, so...
And I'm all caught up, surprisingly, now. I only have 2 more episodes before I'm actually caught up.
I was also, when I first started listening, I was going through school and work and stuff like that, so I couldn't listen to it just, binge it. I had other stuff to do. But you mostly were just editing and driving around, so you had a lot of just free time that you could just listen to it.
Which I found out, which is really good advice, is if you want to listen to a podcast, but you're so you can't focus on it whatsoever, just put in if you have a video game that you really enjoy, or if you for gaming aspect, if you have a really cool game like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, just tune into your favorite podcast and just play the game, or you can play Skyrim or do whatever and just listen to it while you're playing the game.
The top 3 that I do podcasts with are Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, and Minecraft. Because Skyrim is kind of hard to do it in, because Breath of the Wild you can't just go out and just collect the stuff you need and explore and do all that stuff, and you can listen to it. Skyrim, sometimes I found that you don't think about it, but you end up having to pause the podcast a whole lot so that you can listen to story and talk to people and all that. And with Minecraft, you don't have to do any of that, so it's easier to binge playing stuff like Breath of the Wild than Minecraft.
Especially with the Adventure Zone, because it's a D&D podcast with Legend of Zelda. It's a lot more easier just actually get immersed into that world of, oh hey, it's these 3 idiots that try to find these ancient relics to save the whole universe. So
yeah. Yeah, I like to listen to the Avengers Zone while playing Skyrim.
Yeah.
But I try and choose a point where I know where I'm just like spelunking and
Just messing around.
yeah.
Breaking the game, which I did last night.
No, I don't do that. I
always do that.
I have only once crashed Skyrim on the Switch. And it was when like it first came out on the Switch.
I crashed Skyrim so many times that Todd had. I'm surprised I'm not busting down the office door. Just like, why are you like this?
He's going to someday. He's just gonna show up, bust down your door, and take everything.
Take all the copies of Skyrim.
Yeah, you have a lot of them. It's kind of unhealthy.
Yeah. I only have like 3. No, I have 4. I have 4 issues of Skyrim. 2 on the computer.
What?
One
Why do you need 2 issues of Skyrim on the computer?
We're getting off topic now.
You're the one who brought
they
it
gave
up.
it to me for free. I can't help it. I think I broke Steam whenever that happened. I don't know.
I think you did. I'm pretty sure it's illegal.
They didn't refuse it. This is like, all right, cool. Now I have the issue. But I'm getting off topic. Back to the main point is I never really listened to podcasts before. Well, I did, but I never really listened to them before starting this podcast. And like now doing this show and then like listening to them, I'm like getting more experience of like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be done, and this is what podcast actually feels like. It's not just like bullying people, like sitting down and like talking about like something like one topic. It's like there's this like whole genre of different stuff, like nerdy stuff, and then advice shows, and then D&D, and
Talking about your 4 copies of Skyrim.
talking about my 4 copies of Skyrim. Yes. Yeah, it's just stuff like that. It's such a range of things, and it's so easy to start one up and to talk about something that you're so enthusiastic about that you just have to like sit there and vent basically about it. So
Yeah.
But in your opinion, why are they important?
Well, with my parents, they grew up with radio shows.
Yeah.
Instead of watching like TV shows, they grew up like listening to like The Lone Ranger and things like that. And this is kind of just like the new era of that. Like, you know, they grew up with like talk radio. And what a lot of podcasts are is when they're telling a story, it's that immersive thing like The Lone Ranger. And when they're just a talk show type thing, it's more of that talk show type podcast or like, you know, where they're talking about different topics. They're not doing like an immersive story or anything like that. They're just talking, you know, doing a talk show.
Yeah.
So I think it's important because a lot of people don't listen to radio anymore. And those, especially those things like The Lone Ranger, like they all died out. You can't really find anything like that.
Unless you're talking about the movie with Johnny Depp.
No, I'm talking about
I know what you're talking about, but
radio,
you know what I mean.
Dramas.
Yeah.
That's what they're called, radio dramas. I can't remember what that was called. But yeah, like radio dramas died out, I'd say before I was even born, like a while before I was even born. So like, this is kind of them coming back. And anybody can do it. You know, it's just like, we're kind of moving away from like radio being that media of choice for doing that type of show to it being available online.
Right.
Because also more people, like, I don't think any of my friends own a radio. I own a couple radios because I still listen to the radio and CDs and things like that, but all my friends have phones with Spotify and things like that installed, and they don't listen to radio anymore. They just listen to music on their phones because they can choose what they want to listen to that way specifically. And
well, there is a thing called internet radio that a lot of people still listen to.
Yeah, my mom listens to that. Where like if she can't get her hands on a good radio with a good signal, they'll also be like streaming their show on their website, and so she'll listen to it through that.
And that's where the college I went to, the International College of Broadcasting, that's how we did it, was through the internet.
Yeah.
Which you can tune in on the TuneIn app right now on the Radio ICB, the party station. A little shout out to them. I used to be Danny Universe, bringing you all the hits across the universe. But the reason why I think podcasts are important is that they give a good source of information, because there's a lot of stuff I didn't really know until I started listening to more podcasts.
Yeah.
Because I'm more the type of person that has to listen to something so I can retain the information instead of reading it out of an article or something like that. So listening to my brother, me, and the Adventure Zone and stuff like that, I learned a lot, kind of more stuff about pop culture and like how to present, how to do stuff and like stuff like that more frequently now, because it's like, oh hey, I didn't know this until now. Yeah. Where has this information been? Right in front of me, but because of how I am, I couldn't really process it.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Like, when I was going through high school and middle school, I would get a copy of the book I needed for my class, but I also get a copy of the audiobook with it.
Yeah.
So, because for some reason, like, and I have vision problems and processing problems myself, and so, like, I can't really read that well. Like, my eyes will skip lines, or, like, I'll read the same line over and over again. So having the audiobook kind of helps me, like, stay focused and keep on track with how I'm reading it, and it helps me remember like what I did actually read. But I think like other than just that, like, it's a new media and it's another way of getting information
out. It's helping a lot more people now, especially with people with disabilities too. Because I have a disability. I have mild case of cerebral palsy, and so like it helps me like. Because like for me personally, like I can't sit there and like read a whole book. I have to like sit there in class like trying to like process everything that the teacher is trying to teach or something like that. Like I have to like go into my own personal space, like where it's quiet and like I can like retain it that way. So that's why I feel like I'm leaning more on the side of podcasts are important for people that can't really. That's why it's so popular now, is because a lot of people's like trying to focus on helping more people with disabilities now. Yeah. So they also have that medium of like, this is how we can help them, is by having them listen to this.
Well, and like, I will, instead of watching YouTube videos, I'll listen to them.
Yeah.
Like a podcast. And same with like TV. Like my doctor would ask me like, how long like are you watching TV in a day? And I'm like, I'll have the TV on all day, but I'll be like playing Sudoku or reading a book, or like not reading a book, but you know, like I'll be like doing a puzzle. I'm not like watching the TV. It's just there for kind of like background noise, and like I'm able to actually pay attention through just listening to it better than like trying to watch it.
And that's why I listen to the Adventure Zone whenever I drive to pick you up, or like when I've been playing a video game. Is just like, because I can have that background noise and retain everything that's going on, but I'm doing something else that I have to focus on.
Yeah.
So I'm subconsciously like taking in the story and like laughing at the jokes that they do and everything else like that. But I'm also knowing what's happening as well as doing this.
Yeah. But I also think that like it's important, kind of going off of like the like online is the whole like new media like thing. Radio's not as big anymore. Like, even though when I was a kid radio was still big, radio dramas were gone.
Right.
Like they weren't there at all, really. And
you have the morning shows now, like I was doing the morning show.
Yeah, but like
they're not the same though.
Yeah. I'm talking more like the stuff like the Lone Ranger, where like that's stuff my parents and like
even that, like, National Lampoon did the radio show.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Before they did Caddyshack and everything else like that, they did radio shows.
Yeah. But I think it's important because it's helping like the younger generations be able to experience stuff like radio drama. Because like, if it weren't for podcasts, they really wouldn't be able to experience that kind of thing.
Right.
And I think that that's just like something that's like really important to kind of keep alive. Is that especially the drama part? Because like there's still talk shows and things like that, like on every media, but like the radio drama style of thing like died out a while ago, and it's starting to come back with people doing things like D&D podcasts or doing
then also
just a drama show, but through just the audio like form.
Then also it's more personal because you can watch a show, you can watch somebody on TV or on YouTube and stuff like that, but it's not the same as listening to them and actually like knowing their voice. Even though like we don't see what they look like unless we pull up pictures of them and pull up different videos of them. But yeah, it's that more personal connection of like, hey, these people are actually performing for me.
Yeah. And it like with the thing like Welcome to Night Vale, it is a lot more personal. It's kind of set up in this like scenario of you're just a person driving their car, like listening to the radio, or you're just at home listening to the radio, or at work listening to the radio, and you know, you could be anywhere listening to the podcast and it still gives you that same feeling of that personal, like...
connection of, like, what if I were to live in this town?
Yeah.
Type thing. Which... Do you want to touch more on the disability side whenever we get back?
Yeah.
Yeah, right after this break, we're going to touch more on why podcasts are important on the side of the disabilities. So yeah.
International College of Broadcasting is now enrolling students for our new multimedia course. Learn how to put video production, audio engineering, journalism, and much more into motion for creating great content. International College of Broadcasting. Start your future today.
One of the great things about ICB is that we do something called an advisory committee board, where we get people together from the industry to come in and meet with us, and we discuss what, Kenny? The curriculum,
the facilities.
The facilities?
Why we do what we do and what we could do differently to better prepare our students for the work environment.
Right. Getting into that entry-level position is critical. I mean, that's why you're here. And to make sure that we better understand what the industry needs to hire our students, the better. So we do this on a regular basis to help students find the jobs with the skills they'll get from ICB.
So today we talked about internships. We talked about the nature of the industry, both radio and audio. And we talked about what we're doing here at ICB. And we asked our advisory board committee members what we could be doing differently or what we're doing right and we should continue to do.
And Kenny's right. We brought up about social media, and boy, did that open up a conversation from the people about how important social media is for all of our students in any of the industries that we train for.
Absolutely. The meeting was a lot of fun today. We had a lot of great people come and visit us from the industry, people from WHIO, people from Cybertechnics Recording Studio, from A Cup of Joe, from all over the industry, and we couldn't do it without them.
It was great to have those industry professionals here, and we look forward to the next ICB Advisory Board meeting.
And man, just the ads here recently. Jeez. But anyways, welcome back. We're actually going to talk more about kind of like the disability side of why podcasts are important. And I struggle with myocasal cerebral palsy. So like when we were doing the gaming videos and stuff like that, like I'm not playing with both hands. Like I'm playing with just my left hand, and it's really fascinating. Like I'll like glance over at you and you're like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, the first time I watched you like gaming, like I think you were playing Smash, I was just like, how are you able to like, you have like the timing down and everything of like I'm kind of like, I could never hit those buttons like that quickly. Like
then also I've been playing video games since I was like,
yeah,
as long as I can remember. So that's probably why. But I want to focus more on the podcast, is that for me, like going through high school and like school in general, it's just, I never really listened to podcasts, and I had the time. Like I was like 90% by myself, like whenever I would get home. And like I didn't really talk to any of my friends. I didn't really just go out and hang out with them until I was like a senior in high school, where I would hang out with them just about every single day. But I don't know why I never got into podcasts until just here recently. And listening to them, they definitely do help me, especially now with my anxiety and stuff like that, where I have that personal connection, like whenever I'm driving by myself or whenever I'm out shopping or stuff like that, like where I'm listening to the people's voices and they're so soothing that it relaxes me and relaxes like, oh, everything's fine, everything's perfect.
Yeah.
And I don't think about like, oh, is my cerebral palsy acting out, or is like, are people looking at me? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Well, I have like severe off the charts ADHD, so like focusing is already like an extremely hard thing to do. And so like and like I also have astigmatism, which I guess, I don't know, like maybe I may not be describing this the right way, but it's kind of basically like being both extremely nearsighted and extremely farsighted. So I just can't see. So like it also like I have like a slight lazy eye in one of my eyes because of it, and it's just like extremely hard for me to read, and I love reading, I love books and things like that. So like for me, like podcasts, it's a lot easier for me to focus on them and like get through them, and same with things like audiobooks, because I'm able to just like listen to it, and like you said, like it's easier for you to remember things and like focus on things if you're listening to them, not like trying to read or watch them. And I'm the same way, where like if I were to try and like read the story, it's a whole lot harder than if I were to just like listen to it.
Yeah, especially example it being the same person that does the book series called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the person that does the voice for the audiobooks, he also does the voice for the book in the movie. So if you watch the movie first and then you read the books, you listen to the audiobooks, it's the same voice. So it just has that same feel of like watching the movie for the first time, but it has that more in-depth feel of like, oh,
yeah,
now I'm a part of it. And I can actually process what's going on better.
Yeah.
So, moving, like it has definitely like helped me out, especially with like if I'm not hanging with, hey, I'm basically just like here at the office, so like I'm just driving around. I don't like talk to people, so besides like only like a certain amount of people, so like a podcast definitely helped out with that loneliness feeling of
yeah, and like with things like my brother and me, they will sometimes actually get serious and like, and not so joking, and like actually talk about like, you know, different ways to take care of yourself, and like, hey, like you're not alone if you're feeling depressed or things like that. And that's what we also express in doing this channel and also doing these shows on the channel. It's just like, hey, you're not alone. We're always here to help you out. Even though we can't personally be there, I hope our videos actually help you out, just listen to us. Because, like, in the first podcast, you said that's what helped you. Yeah, listening to, like, both, like, this podcast and, like, my brother and me, like, because of my brother and me was, like, purely comedy, like, it helped with, like, being able to have something to, like, brighten my day every day and kind of keep me positive and all that.
And then the show is...
Yeah.
It can go from being pure comedy to, like, being drama. And stuff like that. With, like, a snap, which, no pun intended, with the new Endgame movie that just came out. Still shook up about that. But But with this podcast and like with everything in the gaming side, like to be real, like this is why this channel is made for people that have the depression, anxiety, ADHD, any type of disability, and for those who don't feel like they can be themselves. That's what this channel is meant for.
Yeah.
And to help spread awareness of like suicide prevention, depression, stuff like that, just to help people get through their day, because they might not have like good people around them that they can easily like go on YouTube and just like tune away from all that mess.
Yeah.
Which we personally both did a lot of times. So just let you lovelies know that we're always here no matter what. And with but my mind's one
Yeah,
blank.
no, yeah, I think like that is something that's extremely important about podcasts, is that like the depression and like suicide rate has like skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And like so many more people are feeling that feeling of loneliness, and like they don't have anybody. And so podcasts, like I just know from personal experience and knowing people like who like they've helped, is like it helps them feel like they're not alone, and like they do have like somebody there.
Yeah, even though they're not personally there, they're still listening to what they sound like. They're still listening to the story, and even if they do get serious from time to time, like they still hang on because that's what they have, and that's what gets them through whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
And like we went to a show called Devan Hansen down in Cincinnati, and that's what that was basically about. Was, if you don't know what Devan Hansen is, it's a musical about this kid who tried to commit suicide, but he broke his arm in the process. But during the first day of school,
That's kind of spoiling it.
oh well. Do you want me to retake that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna retake that. Just cut that whole thing. But
Don't talk about how like Evan was the one that tried claiming his life, because you don't
Yeah.
learn that what it was until like the end of the play.
Yeah.
So
oh yeah, so start there with
Yeah.
Hansen. But Devan Hansen is a musical about this kind of social anxiety kid who loves cheese, and we start off by him actually just chilling out in his room, just like going on his full rant, and then like having his arm broken for him falling off of a tree, and then the whole thing spirals out of like the first day of him trying to write letters to himself, and then meeting a kid that ultimately kills himself, and he tries to come up with this whole scheme of trying and like pretending that he was actually his friend the whole time.
yes, because this guy didn't have any friends, and he wanted to try and like make the kid's family feel better and feel like, oh, our son wasn't alone when he died, like he did have somebody. So like he ends up coming up with that whole scheme of, oh, I was actually friends with him, just so that like people don't think that he was like alone.
Right. The last thing that the person that committed suicide said to Evan was like, now we can both pretend that we actually have friends, which starts off that whole
Yeah.
thing. But the whole musical was amazing, and actually spreads amazing cause of you are not alone in this fight, whatever you're fighting, and the whole suicide prevention feeling of you're not alone, you can get through this. Like, even if you feel like that you're going through a rough time right now, life does get better and ultimately
Yeah.
end.
And that if you like reach out, like there will be people there who care about you and who will help you.
But you have to push yourself though. You
Yeah.
can't
Well, maybe not push yourself, but like
push yourself in the healthy way of don't push out to one person. If they don't reach back, then say like, oh well, I guess no
like-
one's there.
no, yeah, like you should like not push yourself, but like don't just reach out to one person. Like maybe reach out to like a group of friends or a group of people or both your friends and family.
Because you never know who's going to actually help.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that actually goes alongside with podcasts, is that there's podcasts like this one that actually try to help people like that. And that try to, because we, not saying we come from the same boat, but we come from the same group of people that suffer from these different topics, that so we know how to approach those things.
Yeah.
And that's what this is for. Is for also to like help tune. That's why this whole channel is called Broken Hearted Gaming and Broken Hearted Studios. Is that's who we represent, and that's who we ultimately in the end is still going to represent up until we close everything off.
Okay.
So, but if you enjoyed this episode, high five button with your thumb.
Leave a comment down below.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Don't forget to ring the bell.
Ding. This will notify for whenever we upload. And hope you have a legendary day, whatever you're watching this. And yeah, next time Broken Hearted Cast. Bye.